Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the On the Clock show with me, Etienne from Blue Chip Prospect, and my good friend Prospect Don. Today, we are bringing you another mock draft. We did one in December, which is a little while ago, almost 2 months ago. And it's not exactly the right time to do mock draft as there's still a lot of movement in the NHL, but we are getting closer to the end of the season. There's only like 30 games left or something around that. So we thought it would be a good idea to do another mock draft, which they are fun to do, and I know that people like to watch them. So first thing first, how are you, Mr. Prospect Don?
Things are good. Olympic break is coming in like four days.
Yeah.
So that'll be some fun hockey to watch. You got Albert Schmitz going on to play for Lavia, so that'll be fun. But it's cool to see all the rankings come out. I know that, Craig Button released his, like Scott Wheeler.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Stephen Ellis, and then Draft Prospects Hockey released there. So it's a good time. They're all on elite prospects. But yeah, excited to do mock drafts like always. I feel like the mock draft guy. I love doing them. But how are you doing? What are you thinking of this class?
I'm not sure yet, man. It's like I don't feel the same excitement as I feel most of the times. The top is really good. I think there's a lot of good defenders like Chase Reid, Verhoeff, Carroll's is really good. Albert Smith's really good. There's two amazing players at the top with Ivar Stenberg and McKenna. But like Ivar Stenberg is a sure shot player, right? It's just McKenna. I'm not sure if he's that type of sure shot. He's definitely a high level player, but he still has some question mark. So I'm just not sure. There's not much like centers too. Like you like to build a team around like a strong center line. And right now, there's not really that many centers in the top 10. So it's a little bit of an issue. So I like the class. Some players are really fun to watch, but not my favorite class so far. Let's say it like that.
What do you think of it compared to 2025?
The thing is, we're not at the same point, and I feel like last year at this point, I felt a little bit the same about 2025. I was not like in love with it, but the more we got close to June, and the more a lot of players excited me. Like at this time last year, I was not a big fan of, let's say, Cole Reshny. He was not like my favorite player, but when we got to May and June, I really, really love Cole Reshny. So I think it's often like that, unless you have a lot of depth into a draft, like starting now, like in January and February. But I think the closer we're going to get, the more excited I'm going to be. So I can't really judge compared to last year, but I'm not sure if it's a better draft than last year. What would you think about that?
Yeah, well said. I think that at the top we didn't have the hype that we had, but now in hindsight, knowing what Matthew Schaefer has done in the NHL, I feel like the hype for him was just way too low. Obviously, only played 17 games and didn't really have a magical draft season because of it. But he is such a great player now that I feel like if McKenna or Stenberg or a Verhoeff came into the NHL next year and put up his points, people would be like, wow, this guy is nearing franchise generational talent, which is kind of what Matthew Schaefer has shown a little bit based on how many left-handed defensemen have come into the NHL and produced like he has. The NHL is so spoiled, and I feel like people like us are so spoiled to have this many young players come in at the same time, where you have Bedard, Michkov, Celebrini, Seneca, like Beckett
Seneca and Anaheim is doing amazing.
Yeah.
Hat trick, I think.
Yeah, they're both incredible. And then you have like teams like, I guess, the Blue Jackets kind of didn't take a deal with the Blackhawks, and then they took Keaton Lindstrom, where they could have had the Blackhawks' first overall pick in 2025 and their first in that class, which was I think I don't know. It was like they had 3, so they picked Demidov, or they had 2 and they picked Demidov, and then Levshunov, and then they wanted Demidov. So it's just really interesting to see how your franchise can change just with like one pick, and I feel like that's what's fun about a draft. But in terms of like last year's class, like there was just like not enough hype, and then it just all came. I don't know what happened, but people just saw the depth, and I feel like with this class there was so much hype in the like summer, but it was just a little overhyped. But other than that, like this is a fun draft class. Like I like watching these players. Like Malholtra's coming out of nowhere. recently on a lot of people's boards. I feel like a lot of people and scouts don't know where to place people. It's just like kind of a crapshoot this year. So that's what's fun about it.
Yeah, there's still a lot of question marks. Like Oscar Hemming just started playing. What to do with Viggo Bjork and Oliver Suvanto. Like there's a lot of question mark, a lot of answers to be answered in the next couple months before we get to the draft. But when we get there, I'm sure I'm going to be excited about a ton of players, and I'm going to want to draft them all for the Habs anyway. So it's always like that. It's always like when we're in December, January, February, I'm like, it's okay. And then we get closer. I get more viewings. I get more into the draft mood, and then I'm like, I want them all. So it's usually the way it goes.
But let's get into it. We have another top 32 mock draft. Very excited for this. Or top 31 with the Senators. I'm not really sure how that is going to play out, but I have the odds, you have the evens in this class. This is going to be a what we think would what is this going to be a what we think would happen or what we would do mock draft?
Good question. What do you want to do? I think let's do what we want to do.
Okay, let's do it.
And another time we'll do what they should do.
Yeah.
There's plenty of time for plenty of mock drafts, so it's okay.
Yeah. That is very true. So let's just do that. For the first pick, like we're using Draft Prospects Hockey, like their mock. So you just go to here, you see the stats on the bottom. But for the first pick, I think the Canucks are really going to think about McKenna versus Stenberg here. I know that they've been the team that recently has picked a lot of the Swedish prospects. In 1999, they picked Daniel Sedin and Henrik Sedin, and Daniel Sedin is the only player that, other than like Ivar Stenberg, projectedly has had 40 points as an 18-year-old in the SHL. So it is going to come down to that, but I think Gavin McKenna gives them their hometown kid that he's always been the top player in the class. And I feel like it's so hard to push him down. He's such a skilled player and has so much offensive upside that I do believe that, whatever comes with his B game not being as strong or his 5-on-5 play or defensively, they have such a loaded defense that I feel like it's not going to really matter to their decision making. They have Zeev Boyum, Tom Melander, a couple other guys that are really, really young that they can just park back there. Pettersson is, 22, 23. So they have a really young back end. I feel like getting a guy like Gavin McKenna would kind of be just the perfect fit. But for St. Louis Blues at 2, what do you think?
Yeah, and I would agree with Gavin McKenna. I think both are a fine pick, whether you go with Ivar Stenberg or Gavin McKenna or even a defenseman. They're all good pick, but they just got Zeev Buem in the trade. They have Ronek, they have Willander, they have Pettersson, like you said too. So they have solid D in the building. There's a lot of young players in there, so that's fine. And so maybe trying to get some players up front is the good idea. And between McKenna and Ivar Stenberg, it really depends what you want. Like Ivar Stenberg seems like an NHL ready type of player that's going to do everything very well, but I don't feel like the offensive upside is as high as McKenna. McKenna kind of make me think a little bit of like Ivan Demidov. He doesn't play exactly the same way, but he makes me think of Ivan Demidov in his draft year. Like the skills is extremely obvious. You know that he's going to be able to do that at the NHL level. You just don't know how high the ceiling is offensively. And I think personally that Gavin McKenna, the skills, the IQ is just so high that he's going to be a very, very productive player at the NHL level. So personally, I would go with Gavin McKenna at number 1, 2 right now. So for St. Louis, do they have a lot of defensemen in their pipeline? They have like Jiricek and who else? That's it. I don't know.
They've definitely drafted forward heavy recently in the first round.
Yeah, but the thing is, right now, even though he's a winger, Stenberg is doing something that's just different. He's like he's first ever in the history of the SHL in terms of production for a draft eligible player. He's just, and he was crazy good at the U20s. So I think Ivar Stenberg should go number 2. Like if you get a chance to draft a player that has such a high floor and such a high ceiling at the same time, You just do it. Unless you really want that right shot D and Keaton Verhoeff or Chase Reid to lock down your first pair in the future. But I think Stenberg has just that much more of a ceiling than these two. So I would go with Stenberg.
And to your point, I don't know if a lot of people have been thinking about this a lot, but the Blues also drafted Otto Stenberg, his brother, 25 in the 2023 draft.
That is true.
And, that was Doug Armstrong. And I feel like they've been very, very offense forward heavy other than the 2024 draft where they took, Adam Juracek in the first round, Colin Raff, and then Lucas Fisher, both in, the top 2 rounds. So they had all 3 of those guys in the 2024 class. So I don't think that they necessarily need to go defenseman. It's not that they have the most high-end defensive prospects. They did give a lot for a guy like Adam Juracek. They had to.
And they got Mayu. They're in business.
Yeah.
No, it's a joke, obviously.
He's one of the best defensemen I've ever seen. So,
yeah.
No,
yeah.
but
I mean, I believe in him more than most people do, but I think the deficiencies are pretty obvious when you watch him play. But like I said, for me, it's just about the fact that Ivar Stenberg is just he's in an exceptional status, and I'm not sure I can say the same thing about the other ones, even though they're all really good.
Yeah, I think 1 and 2 it has to be. I think there's a gap here. McKenna and Ivar Stenberg, they're just so clearly atop of the pack that I feel like it's very hard not to take them. That's just kind of my opinion. But for number 3 at the Rangers, I feel like this is kind of when you really...
You didn't take it yet. You didn't choose Ivar Stenberg yet.
Sorry. I was focusing on the ticker.
Is there a time? Because I don't see it in the screen. Are you on the clock? Oh, okay.
Where the heck?
Can I have to be faster than that? You put Verhoeff.
I thought he was ranked at 2. Give me a sec.
I didn't make it clear enough that I wanted Stenberg to teams.
Stenberg at 2. All right. So for the Rangers, I do feel like this is when the run on defenseman might come. It's all dependent on what people think about Tynan Lawrence, but as we're going closer and closer to, we're in February now. I feel like the kind of talk now is a little down on him, especially since he's gone to the NCAA. Corey Promenade had him number 1, and then it's kind of just been a downhill from there. So I don't think they're going to go with a Tynan Lawrence type of guy. I think it would be a guy like Chase Reid or Verhoeff. I could totally see Chase Reid being in the Rangers jersey, but for me, I'm going to go Verhoeff because he's just my number 1 defenseman in this class. I feel like he's just one of those guys that, 6'4", good offensively, playing well in the NCAA. We wanted to see a little bit more of time on ice with him at the World Juniors, but I feel like he's a really skilled player that also happens to be 6'4" and has that good size. So I feel like this is a no-brainer pick for a team that's picking third. Third is a really hard pick, especially in this class, because you're not getting one of the top forwards, and you have to pick amongst a really good group of defensemen. But Verhoeff is one of those guys that could totally be the first drafted defenseman off the board. I think that there's 3 are probably in contention. Him, Reid, Schmitz, even Carl's are all there. So I feel like he's going to be the top one off of my board, and I feel like it's not a bad pick.
17 points in 22 games is nothing to scoff at. It's very, very good production in the NCAA. It's not easy to put up points as a defenseman in the NCAA, or to put up points in the NCAA at all is not easy, especially in your draft year, unless you're special like Macklin Celebrini or something like that. That's different. But 17 points in 22 games, that's really good. And he's going to be a steady, rock solid defenseman, 6'4", right shot. He's going to be very, very good at the NHL level. He's going to defend the entries. He's going to get the pucks in deep, and he's going to move it really quick because he's a smart guy. He's not the most dynamic skater out there. So that's the only problem that I have with him is he's not a quick skater. He's not an explosive skater. And at the NHL level, I think he's going to have to adapt to that because players are going to come on him faster. So there's going to be more pressure. It's going to be harder to create separation, to move the puck. But to me, he feels like a very smart guy that sees the ice really well. So I think it's not going to be that much of an issue, just an adaptation. So I really, really like him too. like I said, you're betting on a guy that's 6'4" and skates well enough for the NHL. Moves the puck. 17 points, 22 games. Not much more you can want. I agree with Verhoeff. And after that, for the Flames, well, they just traded a right shot defenseman that can move the puck, that can score, that can create offense, and we're going to give them a new one, and that's going to be Chase Reid, which is, in my opinion, either the first, the second, or the third best defenseman, depending on the day. So by the time we finish this podcast,
so quick.
I'll probably change my mind 5 times, so it's okay. But I like Chase Reid. I think he does everything well. Big shot. He's a smart guy. He sees the ice really well. Very good under pressure. Like, he's not like bobbling the puck with his stick when there's pressure coming against him. I don't know. And in terms of production, he's done very well. 47 points in 42 games, including 18 goals. So that's really good. Size, the right shot. So I think, like, again, another player that has a little bit of everything. I don't think he's, how can I say that? Like, he's not an aggressive defenseman. Like, when it comes to defense, it makes me think a little bit like a guy like Noah Hannafin, the way he defends. So not my favorite on that side of the puck, but still not a bad player per se. It's just not my favorite. I would take Verhoeff to defend every day as opposed to Reid, but Reid can create more offense, in my opinion.
Chase Reid is a guy that, he had a really tough USHL experience, and then he just came onto the scene once he went to the CHL. He's just been a fantastic player. He's really updated his game in so many ways. I feel like we're seeing a brand new player, and that kind of just increases his upside because of the rawness in his game that he was playing with. And then just like, we're seeing such a rise in development with him, and I feel like it's scary. Like, I was talking to Brock Otten early in the season, or before the season. He said he was his top OHL player, and that was when Ryan Rubrick was top 5 and Ethan Belchetz was, in the even top 7. So I feel like, since a lot of people have been talking about Chase Reid this way for a very long time, he could totally be the number 1 player off the board defensively, and it's just because of his, like, he's a jackpot. I feel like he could be a number 1 defenseman or a top pair defenseman on your team. I feel like he does have that upside. At the same time, he also probably has a floor of like a top 4 defenseman in the NHL just because of his profile. So he's definitely somebody that a lot of people are talking about in this space, and people are talking about very, very high in the top 3 as well. So I could totally see him doing that. So perfect pick for the Flames, who kind of tried to hit home runs last year in terms of getting those smaller forward. So I feel like getting a player like him is a really good step for their defense. For the Blackhawks, though, at 5, I feel like they could go in multiple different ways. I could totally see a scenario where they take Albert Schmitz based on what I was hearing at World Juniors. A lot of people like him a lot. Ethan Belchetz is 6'5", 225 pounds. This guy is enormous, and the Blackhawks definitely need the size. Tynan Lawrence is a guy that he played for Muskegon so much, and the Blackhawks have really had a lot of scouts there recently, where they took Sasha Boisvert, Václav Nestrasil, and now you get a guy like Tynan Lawrence that went there and then is at BU. So kind of with Boisvert as well. So I feel like that could be a very good option. I feel like I've said Tynan Lawrence a lot, so I'm going to say Ethan Belchetz, because I feel like it's more fun to, you never really know where these players are going to go, but getting that size for the Blackhawks with him, he has so much offensive ability that he hasn't really even shown, but he's shown this season. Like, a lot of scouts were talking about his point production last year, and he's increased that so much that, he's in this top 5 discussion when a guy like Ryan Rubrick isn't. He kind of had to beat him out of this top spot for big OHL forward. And I feel like he just plays the right way. The Blackhawks were rumored to like Porter Martone, but the skating just wasn't there last year, and they liked Anton Frundel's versatility. Now I think that they jump on that big forward that could play in their top six. You have Mason West and Vaslav Nestrasil, who are both over 6'5". They're both 6'6". So you're adding so much of that size into the lineup. I don't think that they could go wrong here. Obviously, a guy like Tynan Lawrence would slot really well as, a 2C. I could see him playing 2C. I think that's kind of where he'll be slotted in an NHL lineup, and it kind of just allows Frank Nazar to play at the top, or Anton Frundell there. So it could totally be him, but Ethan Belchetz is a fun pick here. So I'm gonna go with him.
Who's your top choice for your 2C position in Chicago?
I would say I would want Anton Frundell to play with Bedard, just because of how they play together. But if Nazar, plays better on the wing, and Frundell is just an incredible 2C, or even Boisvert is that 2C that the Blackhawks have been missing, I wouldn't really mind filling that role organizationally with like Frundell. But I feel like Nazar is a really good 2C. Like, he has shown that he can handle his own line, but obviously Bedard and him had some serious chemistry. So I would kind of like to see them back on the same line together, because it just kind of balances out. It's if you have a guy like Frundell, like, the height is not that big of an issue, because the Blackhawks have two really smaller top two centers, and I just don't like that in the playoffs. So I think Frundell would help a lot with that if he was the 2C. But I would prefer him.
But he plays better at wing, though.
He does play better at wing, and the transition for him, he gets tired a lot quicker if your center having to do all of that. So I feel like him at forward would be better for him, unless he performs better with the transition to the smaller rink size in the American Hockey League, which I've talked about, or the North American game. So if he actually plays better C here, I could totally see why, because the ice isn't as big.
Because personally, I really like Ethan Belchetz for Chicago. That gives them like three big players, possibly, like with Nestrasil, Mason West, and Belchetz. But like, I would try, if I was them, I would try to secure that 2C position, because none of the options are really.
Or Caleb Malhotra.
Yeah,
you would take Tynan Lawrence or Malhotra.
Yeah, one of the two. Like, I'm not sure who exactly, but I would probably take one of the two, because I'm not a big fan of the options available. Like you said, like, if you have Bedard on the first line, Nazar on the second line, that's a very, very small center line for the playoffs. I wouldn't like that too much. I would not do that for sure if I was like a coach or a GM. And then after that, you have like Sacha Boisvert, who's good, but is he really 2C level? Doesn't seem to me like he's 2C level. Oliver Moore, a little bit the same thing. Like, they're middle six player more than actual top six player. So unless you're looking for somebody to drive the line from the wing, a bit like the Habs are doing right now, their second line center is Oliver Kapanen. Like, he's one of the top rookie, but he's not driving anything. Like, the drivers are by far Slavkovsky, who's attracting all the coverage on himself, and let Demidov do his thing east-west, and Kapanen just slides into pockets of space and shoots. So unless that, yeah, go ahead.
Well, you make a good point. Like, I feel like if I was the Blackhawks and I took Ethan Belchetz, that means that at the 14th pick, or wherever the Panthers are picking, I would target a guy like Oliver Santo, or try to trade up for Caleb Malhotra, so that I could get one of those Cs. If I go with a defenseman, or let's say I go with Tynan Lawrence at the 5th pick, then I would kind of want that left-handed defenseman to fall to me, or take a shot on a guy like Ryan Roebrook, who does have that size. And I know they say he's a center, but he's not a center. So you get that forward prospect in your pool that's above 6'5" or 6'4". I know he's listed at 6'3.5", but before the season he was like 6'5". So I don't know what he is. Like, let's just say a bigger forward, and you kind of hope that his engagement level gets a lot better in the
Malhotra is like 6'2". He's like a 6'2" player that has skills. He's not like the greatest skater out there, but he has tons of skills. Plays the game the right way.
Great.
Yeah. I think I would have taken Malhotra. Even though I love Belchetz, I prefer Belchetz over Malhotra. Even though the production is not as good. I think if I was Chicago, I would have taken Malhotra. Probably. Not sure.
I think it's a good, like him versus Tynan is going to be a really interesting debate. I feel like Malhotra has a lot more upside because it's
Mm,
like I just feel like that, but I feel like Tynan Lawrence is a solidified top 6 center in the NHL. I don't really see that number one upside, just
yeah,
elite number one upside, as you know we were hearing with like some of the celebrity comps because no one's celebrating, but I feel like he plays the
yeah.
game the right way defensively too, so it raises his floor while also giving you some really good offense. But he needs to play better in the NCAA. But other than that,
Oh,
yeah.
back at it again. So for me, now for Winnipeg, um, yeah, I think I will just straight up go with Malhotra. I feel like Winnipeg been searching for a 2C forever. Scheifele is a great player on their first line and he's gonna stay there, but I think they need a second one to like basically hold the fort on the second line. And Malhotra is that player. I feel like you said, he's not a guy that looks like a future first line player. I don't feel like he has that type of offensive upside in his game, but he's a guy that can play against the best line on the other side, maybe in the future. Plus, put offense. Like he's not a passenger. He's not a complimentary player. He's going to be a driver in the NHL that will be playing well on and off the puck. Does have size. For Winnipeg, size is basically everything. Looks like sometimes. So yeah, Kellen Malhotra seems like a great fit for Winnipeg.
And I do have like an interview with him that's going to be releasing this week. So if you guys want to check that out, but Caleb Malhotra is a gem. I mean, you know, he came from family that played hockey, Manny Malhotra, and then Steve Nash is also his uncle. So he has some incredible winning pedigree in his family, and I feel like that kind of just helps him. Very funny guy. I asked him who he would want to play in a movie, and he said The Rock because they like look like each other, and it's just like so funny knowing Caleb Malhotra. So a really good guy. I feel like he has that like he just has a really good personality that I feel like shows you that he's going to be a really good player. It's that confidence, but it's no ego with it. So I feel like he could be a player that goes in the top 10. I know that it would be kind of shocking to say this preseason, but he's just had a fantastic year. And I feel like he silenced a lot of doubters with his play. So Caleb Malhotra is a great pick. I do agree that it's going to be a really interesting thing, and I think we should do a video on this. Comment down below if we should. But Caleb Malhotra versus Tynan Lawrence, because you know the entire year it was Tynan Lawrence over him, and if you even said Caleb Malhotra was over him, you were kind of shunned. I know that Darren from the Puck Bunkers kind of was talking about this, but I think it would be a really good video to see Caleb Malhotra or Tynan Lawrence. Right now, I have Tynan Lawrence over him, but if we don't see any improvement in the NCAA, that's just kind of a tough decision to go to the USA, like leaving the USHL when, you know, you're clearly the best player on one of the best teams and is a defending Clark Cup champ, and then struggling in the NCAA point production wise. So I just really hope Tynan picks it up and earns that top 3 spot or top 4 spot. But Caleb Malhotra is fighting for it with his. Like,
It
he's
shows you
awesome.
how hard it is to play in the NCAA too. Huh?
Yep.
Everybody was like not too positive about Gavin McKenna, and the guy was a little bit above a point per game. Like, and now the Lawrence has like what 1.2 point in 8 games or something like that. He's like a -5 or whatever. So it's like it shows you that it's a big step from either junior in the Canadian League, especially now that so many of those good players from the CHL has left for the NCAA. And it's also a big step from the USHL, which is like obviously a little bit worse than the CHL. Like maybe give some space to McKenna, you know? It's not because you're not producing at the same rate as Celebrini that it means that you're not first overall level of player. It's just really hard to put up those points in the NCAA and to adapt to that league wherever you're coming from, wherever your level of skill is.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm a little higher on the USHL than a lot of other people, just because of the production that, or the players that they produced have been really, really good.
Yeah.
And it's harder to produce.
Like you mean you would say it's higher than the CHL?
It's not as structured. I wouldn't say like the talent has been higher, because I feel like the CHL has just been obtaining more talent lately, but I think the USHL has developed players' B games better than, like, say, the Q or even some of the CHL. Like, I feel like you come out of the USHL with a better understanding of how to play defense, even in a broken structure in some games where you kind of have to learn on the fly to play that more of a gritty style. It's more American Hockey League more than like other these big boy leagues. I feel like Macklin Celebrini going there and then going directly to college, he was more prepared than Gavin McKenna going from the WHL to the NCAA just a little bit. And I feel like we
Is he
saw
though?
that slow start with Gavin. I feel like, Celebrini's B game was just way
Yes,
better because
Celebrini,
of
but
USHL at the moment.
Celebrini is a different level of player. I'm saying
100%, but I
because
feel
you
like
said like you said that Lawrence was more prepared for the NCAA than Gavin McKenna. That's where like I wouldn't agree with that.
I well, I th- I think
They're
did I
different
say
player. Like
Lawrence
Lawrence
or
is more involved in the play, but that's just the way that he plays. But McKenna is definitely a more effective player, even though he looks like he's sleeping sometimes. Like he's
yeah.
been a lot more effective at the NCAA level than Lawrence has been, at least in my opinion.
I do feel like Lawrence is kind of an outlier with that because he just has not had he has not lit the world on fire being in the NCAA. And I feel like a lot of people are pretty shocked about that. Like, I'm not sure what this would be if he started in the NCAA and had that full training camp and kind of adjusted. But
Maybe better for sure.
yeah, McKenna has looked so much better than Tynan Lawrence, and Tynan Lawrence was going to steal his spot at number 1. I mean, on some rankings he did. So him going to leaving the USHL when he was perfectly prepared, that was kind of shocking. I did
It's
not see.
crazy because Lawrence plays like at close to 100% output all the time. And McKenna, like, I don't even know if he ever reached more than 40% output in terms of
offensively,
energy. No, but I mean, in terms of how much like they look like they want to be there.
That's true. He just has so much talent that it's interesting. Imagine that guy on 100% like full energy and full engagement. He's
like the playoff last season.
That's what's scary about McKenna. But
anyway, it's your turn.
For Nashville, I know that Barry Trotz. Yep, Barry Trotz just left. So we can't really, go into last year's class. But last year they took Brady Martin and then Cameron Reid and Riker Lee and Jake Rombach. And, they had Jack Ivankovic, who I'm a big fan of. But they loaded up pretty well. So I think that this could be a Tynan Lawrence type of pick, but I'm actually going to go Albert Schmitz based on who they've drafted recently. Like Matthew Wood, they do have Tanner Molendijk, who I did like out of the draft. But at the same time, like they do need that high-end defenseman prospect. And I feel like I would take Albert Schmitz here. I feel like he's just one of those players that has been underrated during the draft season a little bit, and now it's just coming to life. His World Juniors was pretty solid for a player that was on a team that wasn't one of the top teams, so he had to play a lot better. But I feel like I do like Albert Schmitz to the Predators here. I could totally see them going in a different direction like Tynan Lawrence, but they do have Brady Martin, so I feel like this would just be a really good pick for them to get that elite defenseman.
Yeah, completely agree. I think Albert Smith is a perfect fit for them. Gives them a big, solid defenseman. Because, like you said, they have Molendijk and Reid, which are very good skaters, very good player who can move the puck, but they're not defense first heavy type of defenseman that can go battle it out in the corners. That's not necessarily their type. They're more the skated out type of players. And Albert Smith can do a little bit of everything. Like I know the more and more there's a lot more comparison with Moritz Seider. Like you can't predict that type of career to a player because it's not fair for the player when he's like 17-year-old, 18-year-old to compare him to a guy like Moritz Seider who's like a beast defensively, a beast offensively, a beast physically, a beast like he does everything so well. He's the anchor in Detroit, but I feel like he has the same type of profile, maybe not the same upside. That's the part that I'm not sure about, but he has the same type of profile. Big shot too. Like he does so many things well. He was great at the World Junior. He's going to the Olympics. Man, I don't know. He's really, really good. So to get him at 7 for Nashville, that would be great.
Yeah, I
So,
feel like that's a really like just solid pick for any team to get a Albert Schmitz. I feel like he's one of the
yeah.
highest floor guys in this class because he just does
Mhm.
a lot right. Like top 4 defenseman, but I totally see him being a top paired defenseman if he just like gets more of that offensive instinct out. And his media is so funny. Like the dude sounds like he's going to be a 10-year vet, just like off the gate. So he made a lot of friends during the World Juniors, even though he was saying like, I have to talk to you people in terms in the media, which
Yeah.
was hilarious. Albert Schmitz has a lot of fans, especially in some of these organizations. Like I know that there was a lot of talk about him. I don't want to say like teams, but a lot of teams like this guy. So New Jersey
Yep.
is your pick, and there is a couple guys on the board that I'm actually surprised they are. So who are you thinking there?
Well, it's not going to be Mattis Preston. Um, the the thing is with New Jersey, like even though there's some good players like on defense, like Carson Carrolls or even like Xavier Villeneuve, they don't need a puck moving defenseman. They have Nemeth who can move the puck really well. They have Hughes who can move the puck really well. They like the completely different type of defenseman, but they also have Silayev in the pipeline. So I think on defense, it's not where they should focus right now, and that's where I would not focus if I was the GM right now. And I would probably just try to lock another center and go with Tynan Lawrence, who's a good player defensively and offensively. At least he projects as, even though he's not having the greatest start, like we said. But in the end, like he demonstrated so much of his skills and talent and like offensive output last year in the USHL and in the Clark Cup, being the MVP at that age. He was the best player on a team that had Nestrazel and that has what's the name of the other? Ryabkin. So, and he was the best player on that team in the playoff and throughout the season. So, I mean, I believe that guy will be a good player. He's at the minimum going to be a middle 6 center in the NHL. Good chance that he's going to be a top 6 center, second line. So I would lock that down, especially since their centers are always injured. So why not?
Absolutely love that pick. I love Tynan Lawrence. I love Caleb Malhotra. The center class has been kind of a Tynan Lawrence top spot the entire time. Now there's definitely some competition. Even a guy like Oliver Servanto has been getting some love. I'm not sure if he profiles as a center in my book in the NHL. Maybe he does, but I just like a really beefy like guy that can give you some grittiness and offensive output. He played really well in the World Junior. So this center class is getting a lot better. But I do like that pick, Tynan Lawrence to New Jersey, when they've selected a lot of defensemen lately. I will say his broadcaster, Ezra Janello, he from Muskegon Lumberjacks. So he said that he watched a lot of Jesper Bratt, and this is the kind of guy that reminds him of him, and obviously the Devils. So he grew up a Devils fan, kind of sees a lot of him. And also his coach, Colton St. Cloud, says that Tynan Lawrence, or his ex-coach, reminds him of Macklin Celebrini on the defensive side, and kind of he can eliminate a number 1 center. So if you have that guy as your like third center or first or second center, like Heischer and Hughes, and have him and all in the top 6 or whatever it is, like you have a really incredible team, especially on the back end too. So really like that pick for New Jersey. It's kind of interesting to even see them in the spot. But
yeah,
for me on Boston at 9, I think that this is going to be a Carson Carl's pick. Feel like his skating is just fantastic. Something that we were talking about at the World Juniors. He actually played pretty well with a limited role at the World Juniors, kind of was relied on very little, and he did a lot with what he was given in the opportunity wise. I could see Boston just like, taking, I can't really, maybe they take Daxon Rudolph, but at the same time, like I think Carson Carls has that top 4 floor. I'm not really sure if he's that number 1 defenseman, like, or top pair defenseman on a team, but he can certainly help out a wounded core and play on the top pair with a really great defenseman. But I just feel like he's a very safe floor guy. His offense is pretty good. I feel like this is a guy that the Boston Bruins kind of need after taking, James Haggins. Dean Letourneau actually looks pretty good. But Yeah. What do you think?
Well, for Philly at number 10, there's starting to be a little bit of a drop now. It's not, we're not talking about the same level of players. Philadelphia is a team that have been reaching a little bit for players, in my opinion, at least according to my board. They took that little bit undersized,
Nesbitt?
speedy winger like 2 years, not speedy center like 2 years ago. What was his name? Yeah, they took Jetochenko, who's probably not looking like he's going to reach a level of where he was picked, depending on the draft, obviously. Then the Jack Nesbitt last year. Yeah, I mean, Jack Nesbitt is a good player, but where did it take him? Didn't it take him like 11?
They traded two first with the 13th or 12th. Well, Kendall went 11th, so he went 12th.
Yeah, so it's a bit high. So I'll try not to reach for them. Give them a chance to build something. I honestly really like Oscar Hemming, but there's just not enough hockey behind him right now to make that decision. So I think I would just go with the right shot D, and I go with Daxton Rudolph right there. There's other players that I like even Oliver Savanto is a player that I like, but I don't think he has that much of an offensive output. And if there's not that many players with a lot of offensive output, well, it could be Ryan Lynn too. But they have York, who's already an undersized defenseman who can move the puck. Yeah, I'll keep Daxton Rudolph. I think it's a great pick. They already have Oliver Bonk for the right shot defenseman in the top four, but I think adding another one, Daxton Rudolph, is a good player, defends well, moves the puck well, has a big shot. Yeah, that's just a good pick for them. It's nothing exciting, but it's you're getting a piece.
Yeah, I like that pick. One of the players that I talked to early in the season, and he wanted to model his game after a guy like Drew Doughty. He wants to be a winner. I think that his offensive game is still growing.
Every time you say Drew Doughty, man, it sounds like Drew Doughty every single time.
I don't know what it is. I got to just say his name, but 55 points and 48. I was never rooting for the Kings. I mean, they were just so good against the Blackhawks in the playoffs. It was always a fun series, but don't know why I'm saying that. So thank you for shouting that out in the comments. Just flame me for that. I don't even care. But 55 points in 48 games, 21 goals, 34 assists. He's had a really good season. He has really good size, 6'2", 200 pounds. I just feel like Daxton Rudolph is a guy that, he's a lot younger than a guy like Villeneuve. A couple, like 4 or 5 months younger. And his output has been fantastic. I actually thought Villeneuve was going to put up a lot more points, especially in the queue at his size. He needed to, but Daxton Rudolph has surprised me with his output. Even Ryan Lynn, I think, him and Ryan Lynn are kind of toe to toe, but Daxton Rudolph's goal count in the WHL is just fantastic. So I feel like this is a guy that's going to rise on a lot of boards later in the year because he is outperforming and outproducing a lot of the smaller defensemen that really needed to have these strong seasons to be in this caliber of a space. He's even putting up higher numbers than Carson Karls, not from a points per game standpoint, but he has 55 points and Karls has 45. So it's just really interesting to see his output, but that's a really good pick. I think that for 11 at Washington, which I can't believe they're even at the spot, I feel like it would be really exciting to see them take a guy like Villeneuve or Lynn, but having my guy Vigo Bjork on the board is just so enticing. If you look at the draft prospects rankings or the rankings right now, it's 5'11", 5'11", 5'10", 5'11", who's the top four. Then Ryan Robrick at 6'4". Like there is, if you want a 5'11" player right here under 6 feet, this is the draft for you in the middle of the first round. Not every one of these guys is going to even go in the first round just because that's kind of what we've seen. But like the Capitals, they don't necessarily need to hit on draft picks right now. Novotny, like Pipparainen, Oliver Savanto.
Like if they want to keep playing that heavy style for checking players, Novotny is a good pick for them for sure.
It's either Novotny or Savanto, honestly. Like I could see them going in both directions. I'm gonna go Savanto. Actually, he's a big boy, plays a really big style. I feel like I really liked watching him at the World Juniors, especially with also Novotny too. But I just really like Savanto. I feel like he can really be a good middle six player for them, and he can even jump on the top line. But he's going to be like a contributor there, role player. But I just feel like this is a guy that is going to go in the top 14, and it's just because of his size. Who are you going to take for Utah at 12 here?
Right, Utah. Like honestly, personally, I think maybe I would go with Vigo Bjork. I don't even have him in my top 16, but I just love the player so much. Kind of makes me think a little bit of Zach Benson in his draft here, but I think he's a more dynamic skater than Zach Benson, even though he's not like incredible skater. Just a player that's undersized, but just super skilled, for hardworking player. Creates a lot of offense. He's playing against pros. He's having good production, like not Ivar Stenberg level, but you can't expect that out of every player. It's still a very good production. He has, let me check, 9 points, 4 goals in 31 games in the SHL. So that's really good. But I will give them, what's his name? Go up in your list.
Oh, did you not take Vigo? I thought you were taking
No.
Vigo.
Oh, did you click him?
Yeah, I thought you were taking
okay,
Vigo.
well, it's going to be Vigo then. But I was going to give them Ryan Lynn.
Oh, okay.
They just traded a right shot defenseman with Kessel Ring, so I was like, why not give them another one? They don't necessarily need a lot of size. They have Lamoureux already. They also have Simashev, so like size on the back, and it's not an issue. So I would a guy that's dynamic with his feet that can move the puck really well, create a ton of offense. A guy like Ryan Lynn would have been good there. So. But Vigo Bjork is not a bad choice anyway. It's just I feel like they have enough dynamic forwards.
Yeah, that's my bad. I'm a big Vigo fan, so kind of jumped the gun on that one. I thought day would be kind of interesting, but yeah, Ryan Lynn is a good pick there. I feel like if I'm the Hawks, that's who I want it. No, I'm kidding. I would say, yeah, Senators forfeited their pick. Shockingly, everyone's kind of surprised about that. They just went up to there and they're like, we're not picking. So the Blackhawks are up. And I feel like since they already took Ethan Belchetz, they're not going to take any defenseman under 6 feet. I talked to one of their scouts and they were like, no 6-foot defenseman. I thought that was kind of funny. It's just something that they're not doing. But I could go Ryan Robrick, but he has a lot of issues that he needs to clean up, especially within his engagement level. Oscar Hemming would kind of be interesting, but you already took a 6'5" player.
The thing with Chicago right now is that they are in the figuring it out kind of phase. So you don't know exactly what they need. They have a little bit of everything everywhere. They have size, they have speed, they have talent, they have defense, they have a little bit of everything. You just don't know who's going to become what. Like, is Nick Lardis going to be the real deal? Is he not? Is Oliver Moore becoming a top 6 center or a middle 6 center? Is Mason West going to be great? Is Nestrasil going to be great? Like, you just don't know who's becoming what. So like at that point, what are you picking? You're just like adding to the prospect pool, but it's not necessarily something you need.
Could take William Hawkinson. I mean, he is a left-handed defenseman, and I feel like the Blackhawks definitely need to draft one of those in this draft. Maybe they take him in the second round, or maybe they take a left-handed defenseman in the second round. But I feel like that's leaving a little value off the board. Ryan Robrick is somebody that's just fallen off a cliff. Would they take him? His, like, Novotny? Could Novotny be a middle 6 player for them and kind of slot into where Nestrasil's playing too, and that would be a fun line. I'm gonna take a chance here and go. Robrick. I know that this is probably not what the consensus would be here, but I'm still a believer. I think that his second half of the season has really looked better. Like it's looked like what we wanted to see out of him early on. So for me, Blackhawks need that upside. They've done it with Mason West. They did it with Nestrasil, and I feel like you're seeing the benefits of that. Go with Ryan Robrick. Get both of those really big wings that if both of them hit, you're sitting really pretty here. So Ryan Robrick's going to be my pick. I want to know your opinions in the comment section of who you would pick here, but I just feel like that's a really fun two with Belchetz and then Robrick, who were both battling it out for top 5, and then you get them both in the draft. So what do you guys think about that? But for 15, 15's me. I guess you were because
we
forfeited.
jumped Ottawa, so we just switched places.
So
it's fine.
You go Sharks here.
Yeah. If you go at the top, you have Xavier Villeneuve. Ryan Lynn is still there. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I love Villeneuve. Is that a player that would take? I'm not exactly sure. Like, I still like him a lot, but I'm just not sure.
I think
no, exactly. So I would go with Ryan Lynn anyway. I was just trying to create a debate in my head, but it's just Xavier Villeneuve. He has like that dynamism that others don't have, but I'm not sure if it's enough. Like he's been sliding down my list, and every time I kind of redo my ranking, he keeps sliding down, and I'm not even sure if he's gonna end up in my first round right now. We'll see. But yeah, Ryan Lynn, right shot defenseman. They absolutely need right shot defenseman, even though they have Nate Miskey, they have Polkamp. Polkamp is a right shot, right? I think so.
Yeah, he is. And he's been fantastic.
He's been fantastic, and he's borderline violent sometimes. He's putting up points in the NCAA, so he's really good. And he's so under the radar. Like, nobody talks about him at all. But he's really good.
Yeah.
And adding a guy like Ryan Lynn, again, not the biggest, like Polkamp. Polkamp is not the biggest, but great feet, good puck mover. He's a guy that maybe has a chance to be like a first pair, second power, not first pair, I mean a first power play or second power play type of guy. Probably Dickinson is the guy on the first power play, and then I would put probably Ryan Lynn on the second power play, or maybe it's going to be Cagnoni, but Cagnoni has so much deficiencies defensively right now that I'm not even sure he's going to be an NHL player when it's all said and done. So yeah, Ryan Lynn, it's a good pick for them. It's not a lot of size on the back end for that, but it's okay. Miskey is 6'4", Dickinson 6'3", so it's okay.
If you guys want Eric Polkamp and learn more about him, I did a interview with him, and he's awesome. Actually, it was like months ago, but now that he's putting up incredible numbers in the NCAA, people are just watching it and commenting it, especially like the last 2 weeks. So thank you guys for the support on that video. But if you guys want to learn more about him, he's a pretty cool guy, very chill. So do you want to go 6? Yeah, do you want to do 16 and then just finish it off and then do another 7 through 32 like next week or something, and just do a top?
But what I would do a top 20 instead of top. I don't want to do a top 32 because we're already like an hour in. And we just did 15 picks, but I think a top 20 is perfectly fine. I just don't want to go past that for now.
Okay, so let's just do a top 20, and then we'll do if you guys want it. If we get 5,000 views, if you guys want, we can get another mock draft top 32 going. But for me, a couple billion likes, super chats like over 10 million, nothing too bad. But for the Blue Jackets, who I always enjoy watching pick because you really never know who it's going to be. But last year they took Jackson Smith, who I thought was a fantastic value pick, and then they took Andrianov, who signed to 2030 in Russia. So that's really interesting.
It's a goalie. Like, goalies don't usually become good before they reach like 20,
it was just shocking he was the first one off the board. I mean, did you see that coming?
No, not at all.
Yeah, me neither. So for them, I don't think they're going to take Villeneuve. They just took a defenseman last year, and I just don't know if he's the right one that fits their system. Oscar Hemming. I'm going to go Oscar Hemming.
Yeah.
Feel like big.
They like size.
Body, kind of like a Brady Martin-esque when he hits. Very fun to watch. He's so mad that he probably hasn't been able to play this season, and then his production in the NCAA has been actually fantastic.
The guy hasn't played hockey in forever, and he just goes to the NCAA, and he's doing well. He's better than Lawrence
out there. Yeah, isn't that crazy? So,
and he's 6'4". So why not?
Yeah, I feel like this is a no-brainer. I'm gonna stick to it. And Columbus with Oscar Hemming. What do you think about Oscar
Yeah.
Hemming?
I like him, and I didn't see a lot of him, obviously, because he hasn't played a lot. So the situation was just terrible for him, obviously, in like such an important year. Not a big fan of Finland for that, but yeah, I love the player. Like by the end of the year, I'm sure he's going to be higher in my ranking. Like right now, it's just right outside of the top 16, but by the end of the year, I'm sure it's going to be higher than that because just arrived in the NCAA, is doing well. It's not just the points. I like the way he plays. He's big, skates well, does a lot of good stuff on the ice. So yeah, player on the way up for sure. And now, who am I picking for?
Anaheim Ducks.
Anaheim Ducks. So we know they want another big player. They always take the biggest player available, so it's going to be Rogowski.
Another 6'5" center.
No. What did they need? The thing is, the Ducks are a little bit in the same place, right? Where as the Hawks, where they have a lot, they just need to know who's going to become what. They're maybe a little bit closer than the Hawks in the sense that their team right now is better than what the Hawks are, for sure. But they have a lot of big players, and I feel like they're gonna keep pressing that way. Who's their best offensive defenseman? You know,
I have no
treating you
idea.
with silence.
Well, I was just
I guess it's Johnson.
I was thinking about the Ducks.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
yeah, but exactly
that
in the
one guy?
pipeline, I don't feel like they have that much. Like honestly, maybe it's just my memory, but I don't feel like they have that much in the pipeline for defensemen. But at the NHL level, they have Minzukov, Zellweger, Johnson, so they have a lot of good players out there. Stian Silber. He's not going to be an offensive player at the NHL level, but he's good and he's violent. He skates super well. He's like a copy of Keaton Gooley. That guy. I like him. It's really good. Liked him in his draft year. Liked him still even more now. Maybe it could be a Novotny. Like I feel like it's a bit late for Novotny.
Yeah,
I know, but I just can't remember if they have any defensemen in their pipeline. That's the thing. Oh yeah. We said Stolberg and who's the other guy that played in the Q? What's his name? Luno. So they have a couple of players. So yeah, Novotny, man. It's going to be Novotny. Yeah, he plays the style they're gonna want to play. You know, the fast, hard, forechecking, get you into the board, get the puck from you, a track cover on you, slip the puck into space, or shoot the puck hard. He has a great shot, Novotny. Man, I don't know what
did you say Novotny
right now. Yeah, Novotny. Yeah, he has 24 goals in 40 games, so he does score a lot of goals. But his shot, man, it's a very solid shot. It's the type of guy that on a power play, maybe second power play. I don't know what's going to be his offensive upside in the NHL, but he seems like a guy you put in the bumper, and it's just going to shoot the puck like crazy. I like that guy.
Yeah, he's a really good back checker too. Like, I was very impressed with him when he didn't have the puck on his stick. There was a couple times in the World Juniors where he did look a little bit like he was in no man's, or like he just like faded away. But when you see this guy like back check, I feel like he's one of the premier back checkers in the draft, in my opinion. I feel like he's a middle six guy and he has that NHL floor when it's so hard to predict a lot of these players' floors. Like he just has that floor. It's something that I don't really say a lot, but he does have that NHL floor. But for the Kings here, I'm going to go with one of the highest point producers in the entire draft class, and that's JB Hurlburt. And he's kind of pushed himself over Mathis Preston for me this year when I didn't think that was kind of ever possible. Mathis Preston's one of the most high-skilled players in the entire draft, but I feel like just I think that his production should be a lot better based on the skill that he has, and JP Hurlburt has that incredible production right now. So I feel like he could be in that first round, in the middle of the first round, and I feel like a team like the Kings can take on that kind of upside or kind of risk to reward. So I feel like this is just one of those high-risk, high-reward plays. But I could totally see a scenario where JP Hurlburt isn't even in the first round just because,
at some point you have to take the production seriously too. So,
yeah.
Who's next? It's Seattle, I think. Is that it? Yeah, Seattle. If you go to the top of your list, who's there?
Villeneuve, Preston, Hermansen, Gustafsson.
I think like at some point they're gonna have to take a defenseman in the first round. I think they never did, right? Like they only take centers in the first round.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll just go with Gustafsson right away. Like a big defenseman who's probably gonna be a little bit more of a stay-at-home defenseman. A little bit is going to be able to, let's say, anchor a pair with a more dynamic type of defenseman on his side, but not necessarily a guy that has to rely on a defenseman to move the puck. He can move the puck from his D zone. It's just once you get to the neutral zone, offensive zone, it's a little bit more complicated, a little less translatable. But yeah, I think it's a good pick. And at some point, they need to build that defense. So, yeah, I would go with that.
What do you think about Villeneuve there?
Where at Seattle?
Yeah.
I don't know. They have Vince Dunn.
Mm.
The thing, like I said, is I like Villeneuve. He does stuff that I like when I watch him, but he doesn't do it enough.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't do it enough, and it's not the way I explained it when I made my video, my top 16, because he's in it. Maybe he's not going to be in it in the future, but he's still in it. He's being compared a lot to Lane Hudson or Cole Hudson or these type of defensemen. But he doesn't do anything at the same level they were doing it in their draft year. When you watch Cole Hudson in his draft year or Lane Hudson in his draft year, they were special. They were just 5'10" defensemen. Lane Hudson was like 153 pounds, 5'9", something like that. Had to go to the draft meetings with X-rays of his bones and a specialist bone doctor saying he's going to keep growing, which he never did. So it was just a spaceman type of defenseman, like crazy good, probably the best player in that U.S. team, but just like too small. But so it was a risk to take. But I don't feel like Villeneuve does anything at the same level as Hudson did or Cole Hudson did. So if those players were taken in the second round, like Cole Hudson was taken, 43rd, I think, and Lane Hudson was taken 62nd, like why is Villeneuve going to be taken in the top 20 if he does nothing as well? So he's fun to watch, but I would not take him in the top 20, at least not right now. Oh, did I pick for them? Yeah, I took Gustafsson. You're just trying to make me take Villeneuve.
For me, I'm going to go with one of my favorite players on the board that's not really ranked as high. He's going to be...
That's the last pick, I think?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I really like this guy. He's a Brandon Wheat Kings defenseman, right-handed. Feel like it's a really good pick for San Jose to just pile on the right-handed defenseman. And it's Pantelis. Really do like everything about him. I got to interview him. I know that Elite Prospects is pretty high on him as well in like the top 10. I think that a lot of people are going to start being a lot higher on him. He's very raw, but he has a lot of upside. I just, 214 pounds, 6'2", has that size, and you're going to be taking Ryan Lynn if you're also San Jose. So why not just double up and see what you got on either one, because the right-handed defenseman is their weakest thing. So if they take two, I don't think anyone would really be surprised on that. To kind of be a smart thing to do. Pantelis is 25 points in 49 games, and he's an 08 April birthday, so he's younger than some of these other prospects that are 07s. I just feel like he's one of those players you take with the high upside. So this is the end of the top 20. I feel like if you guys want us to do a top 32 or top 31 because of the Senators, let us know. I'm just going to pick random players here so that you guys can see the top 20. If you want to go and make your own mock draft, you can. But this is the draft. McKenna 1, Stenberg 2, Verhoeff 3 to New York, Chase Root to the Flames, Ethan Belchetz to the Hawks, Caleb Malhotra 6, 7 is Smith's, Tynan Lawrence 8 to New Jersey, Carson Carroll's 9 to Boston, and Daxton Rudolph to 10. You guys see the ticker down here too. So that's the end of the top 20. Thank you guys so much for watching. like it, subscribe, comment, and follow us both. Blue Chip, you have anything else?
Yeah, before we leave, I think we gotta work on finding a way to get the real logos in there.
Yeah. If you guys know how to do that, please comment. I have no idea what I'm doing.
You've been creative. It's cool, but I think we gotta work on something. Maybe
we definitely
sit down an afternoon and figure
Let's
it
do
out.
it, please. I need
get your
help.
code somewhere, and we're gonna figure it out. Because yeah. But outside of that, yeah, it was fun. I like most of your pick. I like all my picks because they're great. And yeah, that's it. So that's it for today. We're going to record probably another one this week too. We're going to try to amp it up to twice a week. I don't know if it's going to happen this week, maybe not, or maybe after the Olympics. We'll see how it goes. But we're going to try to ramp it up as much as possible for the draft. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of videos coming. Yeah, that's it, people. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.